So these Mitt Romney tapes, there's nothing I can really say that hasn't been said. There's nothing I can say that would do justice to the magnificent ratchetness of that Mitt Romney tape. It's the perfect icing on the cake, or on the deflated souffle that this Mitt Romney campaign has been since it first came out of the oven. But I do have to say real quick that this drama with the Romney tapes has made me happier about this election than I've been in a long time. Not because the Romney campaign seems to be careening towards extinction, although that does seem to be happening, but because the Romney campaign's panic over these tapes led them to dredge up those Obama tapes from 4 years ago. And hearing those tapes again has reminded me why I was so happy on a personal level to vote for Obama 4 years ago. And before I explain what I mean by that, I should say that how I decide who I'm voting for and how I decide how happy I am to vote for them are two different questions. I try to decide who I'm voting for based strictly on policy by looking at the issues they're going to prioritize and the policies they're going to implement. And for someone as far left as I am, that's usually a dry, passionless process where I'm slightly more lukewarm about one person than the other. But once I've made that choice, there are a whole bunch of other things, including how I feel about them as a person, what I think they might represent symbolically for the country if they win, that help determine how good I feel about making the vote, which is basically my long-winded way of saying that I did not vote for President Obama because he was going to be the first black president, or because I liked him as a person, but I was rooting real hard for him to win and passionate about voting for him because he was going to be the first black president, and because I felt like I liked certain things I saw in him as a person. And that's what makes this election hard for a lefty like me, because since we already broke those historic barriers 4 years ago, the feeling of this election is dominated by the practical political reality of Obama being a center-left Democrat that's only ever going to satisfy us lefties maybe 60% of the time. And that's why I felt really happy to hear that tape again of Obama talking about people who cling to guns and religion and antipathy towards other people. Because to me, if you take that secret tape and compare it to Romney's secret tape, you couldn't have a more stark contrast in the character of these two people. On Mitt Romney's tape, we hear him looking down on his opponents, writing them off as people, and detaching from their humanity. Mitt Romney's impulse when he's alone with his allies is to feed into their prejudices by making lazy, hateful, dehumanizing arguments about their opponents. But on the Obama secret tape, we hear the exact opposite of that. We hear him speaking in private to his allies and trying to pull them towards having more empathy for their opponents. He makes the case for maintaining a belief in your opponent's humanity and hoping you can reach out and connect with them. And I know people say that Obama tape sounds condescending, but if you're trying to meet someone halfway and pull them from disdain towards empathy, that halfway point is probably gonna sound like condescension sometimes. I think that's just unavoidable. And the important thing about that tape to me is that even when he's alone with his people and he can say whatever he wants, Barack Obama's impulse is still to make the case for empathy, to make a humanizing argument about his opponents. And even though that instinct has been to his detriment dealing with the GOP, and he should have gave them more tough love, being reminded of that compassion and that humanity Barack Obama has, especially when contrasted with Mitt Romney's polar opposite, wackest possible instinct in the same situation, is making me feel a little bit better about voting for this person than I have in quite a while. It doesn't change the fact that politically he's been a center-left Democrat who only satisfied me 60% of the time, but I do think for lefties like me, hearing that tape again is a chance for us to reconnect with that humanizing instinct within Barack Obama the person. Not only so that we can remember it when we cast a vote for him, if we do, but more importantly so that we can remember it after the election. So that if President Obama does win another 4 years, we can remember that tape and be a little bit more inspired to push him towards manifesting those humanizing progressive instincts in how he governs and how he serves the people. I mean, what we really need is to remake this whole system so that we can ever be more than 60% satisfied with anybody, but that's a long-term project. We got to take baby steps.